The Mayan civilization is a favorite of conspiracy theorists and crazy TV channels, all due to countless secrets left behind by these mysterious people. Where did they get such an advanced calendar and such accurate calculations of the position of the planets? How did the Mayans manage to build huge pyramids without inventing the wheel? And most importantly, why did a powerful and advanced civilization suddenly disappear in the 10th century? These mysteries spawn tons of theories about extraterrestrials, time travelers, and magic. And in the next couple of minutes, we will try to answer all the burning questions about the life of the Maya. Don't worry, no tinfoil caps needed. After all, the main mystery of the Mayans is that there is no mystery. Archaeologists and scientists have figured everything out long ago, and the only problem is that no one wants to listen to them. It's more fun to come up with idiotic theories, isn't it? In the next couple of minutes, we will take them apart and crush them with harsh reality. And as always, we have a guest who will help us, Raoul Jimenez. The name is not really Mayan because their language is hard to pronounce, so we decided to not torment your ears. You don't want to hear us butcher names like Kukulkan, Hunapu, and Xbalank all video, do you? And quite frankly, we don't really know what the classical Mayan language used to sound like. So let's just go with the Mexican name Raoul, in tribute to modern Mexico, where the Mayans lived in the past. Their state was located mainly on the territory of the Yucatan Peninsula, but during various time periods, it spread out to modern Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and even Honduras. Without further ado, we are somewhere around 600 AD, and Raoul is standing at the heart of the legendary city of Chichen Itza, which is one of the 7 modern wonders of the world according to the updated list. Chronological dating is the first important detail that few people get right. The Mayans are not ancient Egyptians or the Sumerians. This is a civilization who lived relatively recently. Although the beginnings of state formation started on Yucatan around 2000 BC, the Mayan civilization itself appeared much later. Traditionally, it is believed that the pre-classical period ended only in 250 AD, and the golden age of the Mayans happened even later, between the 3rd and 6th centuries. So more recent than the division of the Roman Empire in Europe. First confusion cleared. Let's cover another one. There was no Mayan empire or superstate. The Mayans should be referred to as a civilization because they lived in various city-states that did not always get along with each other, although they had a similar culture and language. By the way, one of the theories of their disappearance suggests that the Mayans simply eliminated each other. In reality, this isn't the case, but the fact holds, there were many bloody internal wars. So what would Raoul call himself then? Obviously not Mayan. The term Mayan in general became popular after the records of Columbus, to whom the locals introduced themselves as residents of the province of Mayan. As for Raoul, he is a proud citizen of Chichen Itza, one of the largest and most beautiful cities of the Mayans. His people did not know iron and high technologies. However, that did not prevent them from building beautiful architectural masterpieces. The guys just took rocks, limestone, wood, and whatnot, treated them with sand and water, and then, using advanced knowledge of math and geometry, they built beautiful houses and palaces, some of which stand till today. As in ancient Egypt, for the most part, the pyramids were built for the nobles and rulers, and they doubled as astronomical observatories. But that's the last thing on our Raoul's mind. He's a simple hard worker and a typical member of the Mayan society. As we've already mentioned, the territory consisted of city-states, and on the outskirts of those cities lived families full of ordinary folk like Raoul, who formed groups to cultivate the land. Despite the fact that Yucatan has a tropical climate, the water situation wasn't great. That didn't stop the Mayans though. They used underground springs, and where there were rivers, built reservoirs and irrigation channels. The technologies used by the Mayans for agriculture were very advanced, and despite the relative scarcity of their territories, allowed them to survive. Mostly, our Raoul grows and eats corn. It was the main food for the Mayans, because it's simple to grow and offers a lot of sustenance. The love for corn went so far that one of the main gods in the Mayan pantheon was the god of corn, and they believed that it was from corn flour that the first man was made. The Mayans treated harvest very responsibly. Due to the unstable climate, land that got irrigated and was able to grow anything constantly shifted. This forced families to move around a lot. In his spare time from harvesting, Raoul was obligated to do community service and, of course, serve in the army. Each city and united cities had a strict hierarchy with kings and a bunch of bureaucrats. But there was no regular army until the late stages of Mayan civilization's development. Usually, the ruler forcefully drafted common folk, and like in Egypt, no one questioned that, since kings were believed to speak the will of the gods, which the Mayans had several thousand of. There were even different types of gods for different deaths. For the world cycle is the main belief for our Raoul and all the Mayans. Which leads into our next topic. Why did everyone expect the world to end in 2012? The Mayans were very fond of astronomy. It was studied by special priests, and their knowledge about space was integrated into religion and science alike. For example, the Mayans calculated that Venus completes a full cycle around its orbit in 584 days. By the way, modern calculations place that number at 583.9 days. So it's kind of scary how accurate Mayan calculations from 1500 years ago are. The same can be said about other celestial bodies. The Mayans not only studied the phases of the moon, but also understood how they affect nature. No wonder such correlations shocked people, and they began to worship celestial bodies and adapting their lives to their cycles. By, for example, inventing the calendar. And not just one, but two. The Mayans had a long regular calendar and a short ritual calendar. The long one was also creepily accurate, since the Mayans made it equal to 365 days. However, the Hab was divided into 18 months of 20 days, and an additional one of 5, unlike our modern 12-month calendar. Fun fact, the first day of each month was denoted not by the number 1, but by a 0, the invention of which is attributed to the Mayans. The guys did not use the decimal system, but the 20 decimal system, which ended with 19, and the short ritual calendar, Tzolk'in, consisted of 260 days, or 13 months of 20 days each. It was mainly used for religious ceremonies and various predictions of good and bad days. For example, those 5 extra days from the extended calendar we mentioned were considered bad. But don't worry, the Mayans did not get confused. Farmers and the majority of the population lived according to the standard long calendars, and the short one remained the domain of the priests. There are disputes about it because it is not clear where the figure 260 came from. So far, the working theory is how long, give or take, women's pregnancies last. Those calendars and cycles are the basis for the world end theory. As you now know, seeing the cyclical nature of the celestial bodies and having a clear calendar, our Raoul believes that all living things exist according to these very cycles. The Mayans also adapted their mythology to fit this concept, dividing the universe's existence into eras. Those eras lasted approximately 5,200 years, divided into 13 minor periods, and inevitably ended with an apocalypse, which wiped all life. So according to the Mayans, our era began around 3114 BC, after a terrible flood when the sky fell onto the ground and it became very dark. Scientists believe that the Mayans did not just make that up. There was a large volcanic eruption recorded in the past, which caused a tsunami and brought volcanic dust that blocked the sunlight. Anyway, the most recent Mayan era was supposed to end in 2012. Unfortunately, the prediction was wrong, and the only notable thing about their cycles is the choice of the length of the era and wondering what kind of cataclysm shocked the Mayans so much 5,000 years ago. Nevertheless, our Raoul did not live until 2012 and had no reason to doubt his gods. He had great faith in his mythology. Here lies another analogy with ancient Egypt. There, the pyramids were built with a sincere belief that the richer the pharaoh, the richer the people. The Mayans from all over built pyramids with a similar thought in mind. They believed pyramids made their gods happy, despite the fact that almost every city-state had its own version of mythology, where their specific king was a descendant of the gods who created all living. According to some historians, the Mayans created beautiful reliefs and architectural wonders solely to please their gods, not for art. Also to please their gods, our Raoul and every single Mayan play ball. In Chichen Itza alone, there are 7 stadiums, and excavations throughout the civilization's territories confirm that the game of ball was everything for the Mayans. However, the rules have been lost to history, but there is a solid basis to believe that the game was a hybrid of football and volleyball, where the teams kept a rubber ball in the air by throwing it to each other. The balls, by the way, were quite heavy, and special hoops were often put on the players to help with the task. A little later, they began attaching hoops to the walls, mixing modern basketball into the game. All that was part of some ritual. Which one? We can't say for certain. There are records of both sacrificing the losing and the winning teams. This is a sad part of the Mayan history, because they really did sacrifice people, mostly captured prisoners from other cities. They had no slavery as such, but captives were pretty close to that status. Finally, let's get to the most interesting part. How did such a technologically advanced civilization with vast knowledge in craft and astronomy suddenly disappear? First, let's lay out the facts. And the truth is that the Mayans have not disappeared. They live to this day, being an ethnic group on the territory of Mexico and Yucatan. The Mayans did not vanish. their cities simply decayed. This was confirmed by the first Spaniards who arrived on the continent. Wanting to conquer the territory, the guys were very surprised to find that most of the work has been done for them, and most major cities were already lifeless deserts. In fact, this made them create the myth that after the Golden Age, the Mayans magically disappeared at the turn of the 10th and 11th centuries. Reality is not as exciting, and the Spanish theory doesn't hold. For example, because despite the decline, the conquistadors still had to fight with the remnants of the Mayans, and some of their descendants, as we have already mentioned, live to this day. There are many theories: internal wars, aliens, and even epidemics. The most popular theory suggests that terrible droughts came to the already not too fertile Mayan lands, and in some areas there was no rain for years. The worst drought lasted 95 years. Can you even imagine what sort of damage that did to the poor people? This, as you might have guessed, led to famine and migration, leaving entire cities empty. The drought is confirmed by archaeologists who studied the layers of those times. However, opponents of the theory claim that in the event of an ecological disaster, it is unclear why it only affected the south, while the Mayans continued to progress in the north. Modern radiocarbon analysis has put an end to the controversy. Droughts also affected the north, but the Mayans there handled it a little better. But their doom was caused by constant wars with other cities, where they slaughtered each other for resources. So the reason for the decay of a huge civilization was a combination of environmental and human factors. And the reason why we have so many myths about the Mayans are the Spaniards. Since the church ordered them to burn all books and records on the conquered territories, there are only 4 books that survived these burnings. So once again, no mysteries here, just Europeans slaughtering most of the Mayans and burning centuries worth of their works. However, as you now know, armed with modern methods, scientists have already solved almost all the mysteries. There are a few mundane questions left, like how in the world did the Mayans build pyramids without having tame draft animals and wheels? However, we might be able to answer this as well. The Mayans built great roads and mostly used human labor for that. There are many statues depicting people pulling huge loads on their backs. So the guys didn't need aliens' help. People, as we've already mentioned, viewed hard work as a gift to their gods and were willing to do it. We'll probably leave it at that. If you still have any questions, you're welcome to ask in the comments. We will try to answer all of them. See you later, friends!